Ambassador Maya Rodriguez stood at the edge of the Galactic Council chamber, her eyes tracing the vast holographic displays that showed the hundreds of member species in attendance. 6 months since humanity had joined the interstellar community, and still the sight left her breathless. Species that had evolved in environments so different from Earth's that some couldn't even survive in the same room together, all gathered through a complex system of atmospheric barriers and holographic interfaces. Behind her, Admiral Hiro Tanaka shifted uncomfortably in his formal dress uniform. Unlike Maya, who had trained for diplomatic service her entire career, Tanaka was a soldier first and foremost, more at home on the bridge of his dreadnought than in political chambers. "How many more speeches about trade agreements before we can leave?" he whispered, just low enough for Maya's earpiece to catch. Maya suppressed a smile. "Patience, Admiral. This is how alliances are built." "I'd rather build them on the training field," he replied. "The Centauri delegation keeps looking at us like we might sprout fangs and attack at any moment." Maya couldn't deny the truth in his observation. Humanity's classification as Deathworlders, species evolved on planets with extreme gravity, atmospheric toxicity, dangerous predators, and harsh weather patterns, had preceded them. To many council species, humans were walking nightmares, dense muscle tissue, reinforced skeletal structures, and metabolisms that could process toxins that would kill most sentient beings instantly. Their homeworld, Earth, with its crushing gravity to most aliens, extreme temperature variations, corrosive oxygen atmosphere, and relentless natural disasters, was considered uninhabitable by over 80% of council species. "What kind of monsters," they whispered, "could evolve in such a hellscape?" "Ambassador Rodriguez," a melodic voice chimed through her translator. "Your thoughts on the Proxima trade proposal?" Maya quickly gathered her thoughts, preparing to address the chamber. Before she could speak, however, the massive doors at the far end of the chamber burst open. Every head turned as a being staggered into the council hall. Maya recognized the crystalline metallic exoskeleton of an Arcry, one of the oldest council species. But this wasn't just any Arcry. The distinctive geometric patterns etched across the being's surface identified them as Elder Zorth, spiritual leader and chief representative of their kind. And Elder Zorth was kneeling, a gesture that, in Arcry culture, was reserved for moments of absolute desperation. "Help!" The translation came through, the single word laden with such despair that Maya felt it like a physical blow. "The infinite has found our galaxy. We have 4 months before consumption begins." The council erupted in chaos. Maya's eyes met Tanaka's. The Admiral's expression had gone cold and hard. "And so it begins," he murmured. "Sir." The emergency council session had been in progress for 14 hours. Maya's temples throbbed with the beginnings of a migraine as she listened to the Arcry delegation describe what awaited them. The infinite, a vast swarm of biomechanical ships, or perhaps a single entity split across thousands of vessels. It moved through the universe, consuming all organic matter in its path, incorporating useful genetic material and discarding the rest. It had already devoured 17 known galaxies beyond council space. And now, somehow, it had found a way to bridge the vast emptiness between galaxies to reach the Arcry homeworlds. "The data is conclusive." Elder Zorth's voice resonated through the chamber, the translation algorithms struggling to convey the deep harmonic tones. "Our long-range sensors detect the infinite approach vectors. Consumption will begin at our outer colonies within 4 standard months." The Valaxian representative, a floating collection of luminous gas sacs, pulsed with agitation. "Why come to the full council? This is a matter for the Defense Committee." Elder Zorth's crystalline form shimmered with what Maya had learned to recognize as distress. Because the Defense Committee has already voted, they recommend evacuation and abandonment of Arkwright space. Silence fell over the chamber. They believe, continued Zorth, that engaging the Infinite directly would only draw its attention to the Council core worlds, that sacrificing our galaxy is the prudent choice. Maya felt sick. The Arkwright had been among the founding members of the Galactic Council, their civilization spanning nearly 30,000 years, and the Council was prepared to simply write them off as a loss. The representative from Melosia, an avian species with iridescent plumage, spread his wings in a gesture of resignation. The Defense Committee's assessment is correct. The Infinite cannot be defeated through conventional means. Any direct engagement risks exposing the rest of Council space to consumption. Maya couldn't contain herself any longer. So the mighty Galactic Council's response to an existential threat is to run away. Every alien eye turned toward her, the human Deathworlder, speaking out of turn. The Council chair, a tall, willowy being with skin like polished obsidian, fixed Maya with its 4 eyes. Ambassador Rodriguez, you speak from ignorance. Your species has been spacefaring for less than 3 centuries. The Infinite has existed for millions of years. It cannot be reasoned with. It cannot be defeated. It can only be avoided. With respect, Chair, Maya replied. Humanity has faced extinction-level threats throughout our history. We don't abandon our allies to die. Your species evolved fighting other predators, the Melosian representative chirped dismissively. The Infinite is not a predator. It is a force of nature. Admiral Tanaka stepped forward. Forces of nature can be countered, contained, and defeated with the right approach. The chair's expression remained impassive. We will put it to a vote. Those in favor of committing Council resources to the evacuation of Arkwright space signify. The vote was not even close. Evacuation plans would begin immediately. Only the human delegation and, surprisingly, a handful of other Deathworld species, the silicon-based Krex, the ammonia-breathing Volucrians, and the high-gravity Turgans, voted against the proposal. As the session disbanded, Elder Zorth approached the human delegation. Up close, Maya could see the intricate geometric patterns that covered the Arkwright's metallic crystalline form, each line and angle telling the story of their ancient lineage. Your words were unexpected. Ambassador, Elder Zorth said, the translation coming through with a harmonic resonance. But they change nothing. My people face extinction. Maya glanced around to ensure they weren't being monitored too closely. Perhaps not. Elder, if the Council won't fight, Earth will. Zorth's crystalline structure flickered with surprise. Your single world against the Infinite, that would be suicide. Not just Earth, Tanaka interjected quietly. We've been in contact with the other Deathworld representatives. They're interested in discussing alternatives to evacuation. What the Council fails to understand, Maya added, is that Deathworlders don't just evolve physical strength. We evolve strategies for survival against overwhelming odds. Elder Zorth studied them, the geometric patterns on their surface shifting subtly. What are you proposing, humans? Maya met the alien's gaze steadily. Total war. The lunar military base. Artemis hummed with activity as Admiral Tanaka's shuttle docked in the cavernous bay. Through the viewport, he could see personnel and equipment moving with practiced efficiency, preparations already underway. As he disembarked, Colonel Yasmin Khan snapped to attention. Welcome back to the moon, Admiral. Tanaka returned the salute. At ease, Colonel. Status report? They began walking through the bustling hangar. Khan pulled up a holographic display from her wrist device. We've initiated silent mobilization across all Earth and Mars military installations. The Kreks, Volucrians, and Turgans have pledged support, not officially, of course. Can't have the Council thinking we're forming a splinter faction. And our special units? Khan's expression turned grim. The Bio-Armor Division is prepping for deployment. Chemical Corps is synthesizing compounds specifically designed based on the preliminary data from the Arcry 0G raiders are running combat simulations. They entered a secure elevator that carried them deep into the lunar bedrock. Tanaka felt the familiar weight of command settling onto his shoulders. What they were planning went against direct Council policy, potentially risking Earth's newly established position in galactic society. But they couldn't stand by while an entire civilization was sacrificed. The elevator doors opened onto the Strategic Command Center, a vast chamber carved from the moon's interior. Holographic displays showed star maps, deployment vectors, and resource allocations. Staff officers moved between stations, coordinating the largest mobilization of Earth's military forces since the Proxima conflict. "We're calling it Operation Thermopylae," Khan explained as they approached the central planning table. "Appropriate, don't you think? A small force standing against overwhelming odds. Let's hope we fare better than the Spartans," Tanaka replied dryly. Dr. Lena Ortiz, head of the Chemical and Biological Warfare Division, looked up from a display showing molecular structures. Her dark eyes were rimmed with exhaustion, but her voice was steady as she reported. "Based on the data Elder Zorth provided, we've identified several potential weaknesses in the Infinite's biological components," she said. "Their ships aren't just mechanical, they're partially organic, with systems similar to neural networks." "Can we exploit that?" Tanaka asked. Dr. Ortiz nodded. "We're developing a compound that should disrupt their neural pathways. The problem is delivery. We'd need to introduce it directly into their command ships." "That's where the bio-armor comes in," Khan interjected. "The suits can withstand the toxic environment inside the Infinite vessels long enough to deploy the agent." Tanaka studied the deployment plans. "And the Arcry? How are they responding to our intervention?" "Elder Zorth has been cautious," Khan replied. "They're sharing intelligence and technical specifications for their defense systems, but many of their people still believe evacuation is the only option." "Can't blame them," Tanaka said. "If the Council's been telling them for centuries that the Infinite can't be defeated, it would take a lot of faith to believe otherwise." He turned to face his assembled command staff. "Make no mistake, this is not a conventional war. We're not fighting for territory or resources. We're fighting for the right of a species to exist. The Council may call us monsters, but sometimes it takes monsters to defeat the darkness." A communications officer approached. "Admiral, secure transmission from Ambassador Rodriguez on the Council station." Tanaka nodded. "Put her through." Maya's face appeared on the main display, her expression tense but controlled. "Admiral, we have a problem. The Council has voted to expedite the evacuation. They're abandoning the outer Arcry colonies immediately." "That cuts our timeline in half," Tanaka replied. "Worse," Maya continued. "I've received intelligence that some Council factions fear our intervention might provoke the Infinite to expand beyond Arcry space. There's talk of containing the situation." "Containing us, you mean?" Tanaka said grimly. "We need to move quickly," Maya urged. "I've convinced Elder Zorth to grant us access to their defensive grid. We can use their systems to mask our approach." "Understood. We'll accelerate deployment." Tanaka paused. "Maya, if this goes wrong, Earth could face serious repercussions from the Council." Maya's expression hardened. "If we do nothing, Admiral, we don't deserve our place in the galaxy anyway." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in silence. "You heard the ambassador," Tanaka said finally. "We move in 36 hours. God help us all." Hantano. Maya stood on the observation deck of the Council station, watching as the massive evacuation ships departed from the docking bays. Each vessel carried thousands of Arcry refugees, their crystalline forms packed into specialized containment units designed to maintain their unique biological needs. It was an impressive humanitarian effort, and completely insufficient. At the current evacuation rate, less than 30% of the Arcry population would escape before the Infinite arrived. "A regrettable necessity," came a voice behind her. Maya turned to find the council chair approaching, its willowy form gliding across the polished floor with otherworldly grace. "Sacrificing billions is never a necessity," Maya replied, struggling to keep the bitterness from her voice. The chair's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture Maya had learned indicated something between resignation and condescension. "Your species is young, Ambassador. You still believe every problem has a solution. And your species is old," Maya countered. "Perhaps you've forgotten that surrender isn't always the wisest choice." "It is not surrender to acknowledge superior force," the chair said. "It is wisdom." Maya turned back to the viewport. Then perhaps the council could use a little less wisdom and a little more courage. The chair was silent for a moment. "We have received, concerning reports, Ambassador, military movements in Earth space, unusual communications with other Deathworld species." It paused. "The Council would view any unauthorized intervention in Arcry space very unfavorably." Maya maintained her composure with effort. "Earth respects the Council's decisions. Chair, we're simply ensuring our own security in light of the emerging threat." "See that it remains so," the chair said, before gliding away. Maya waited until she was alone before activating her secure communicator. "They suspect something," she said quietly. "We need to move up the timeline." Admiral Tanaka's voice came through, distorted by encryption algorithms. "We're already in transit. First elements will reach Arcry space within 18 hours. What about the intelligence assets?" "In position," Tanaka confirmed. "If the Infinite has a weakness, we'll find it." Maya took a deep breath. "I'll coordinate with Elder Zorth to ensure the defensive grid recognizes our ships as friendly. And Hero, be careful." "Always am," came the gruff reply. "Rodriguez out." Maya shut down the communicator and gazed back at the evacuation ships. Soon, those same docking bays would be filled with Earth vessels, not retreating, but advancing toward the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known. The Deathworlders were going to war. Captain Sophia Reyes floated in the dark confines of her bio-armor, breathing the recycled air as her ship, the stealth frigate Tenacity, drifted through the outer reaches of Arcry space. Around her, 11 other bio-armor operators waited in silence, each encased in 2 meters of specialized combat armor designed for the most hostile environments in the universe. The suits were marvels of human engineering, part mechanical exoskeleton, part biological interface that melded with the operator's nervous system. They could withstand vacuum, radiation, extreme pressure, and most known toxins. Each was equipped with heavy weaponry, advanced sensors, and, for this mission, specialized delivery systems for Dr. Ortiz's neural disruptors. 5 minutes to intercept, came the pilot's voice through her comm system. Reyes checked her team's status on her HUD, all green. "Remember the mission parameters," she said. "We get in, locate the neural cluster, deploy the disruptor, and get out. No heroics." "What if we encounter Arcry still aboard?" asked Lieutenant Chen, her second in command. "Intelligence indicates all Arcry have been evacuated from this station," Reyes replied. "But if we do find survivors, extraction becomes priority 1. The ship slowed as it approached their target, a massive Arcry defense platform that had gone dark 3 days earlier. Initial scans showed infinite presence, but on a small scale, likely a reconnaissance force. Perfect for testing Dr. Ortiz's weapon. Contact in 3, 2, 1, chi. Reyes felt the subtle vibration as the Tenacity docked with the Arkwright station. The airlock cycled, and then they were moving, 12 shadows in the darkness. The interior of the station was a nightmare landscape. What had once been gleaming corridors of crystalline architecture was now coated with a pulsing, organic substance that seemed to writhe under their lights. The air, what remained of it in sections where the hull hadn't been breached, was filled with spores that drifted like malevolent snowflakes. Biomass is consistent with infinite infiltration patterns, reported their science officer, scanning the growth. It's reconfiguring the station's systems. Reyes moved forward cautiously. Life signs? Nothing, Arkwright, came the response. But I'm detecting something moving ahead, multiple signatures. They rounded a corner and encountered their first infinite drones. The creatures were roughly humanoid, but with too many joints and limbs that terminated in specialized tools rather than hands. Their skin was a translucent membrane that revealed pulsing organs and mechanical components working in horrific harmony. The drones turned as one, eyeless faces orienting toward the human intruders. Weapons free, Reyes ordered calmly. The bio-armor team opened fire with surgical precision. Silent, armor-piercing rounds tore through the drones, spilling a luminescent fluid that hissed when it hit the floor. They're not attacking, Lieutenant Chen noted as the last drone fell. Just observing. They're gathering data, Reyes replied. Learning. Stay alert. The next ones will adapt. They pushed deeper into the station, encountering more drones with each level they descended. As predicted, each new group showed signs of adaptation. Thicker membranes, more mechanized components, rudimentary weapon appendages. We're approaching the central core, the navigator announced. That's where the neural cluster should be. The doors to the central chamber were sealed, but the bio-armor's enhanced strength made short work of them. Inside, they found what they were looking for, and something they weren't. The neural cluster hung suspended in the center of the room, a massive, pulsating organ interwoven with mechanical components. Tendrils extended from it into the station's systems, pulsing with malevolent energy. But beneath it, trapped in a web of organic material, was an Arkwright. Survivor, Reyes snapped. Med team, prepare for extraction. Everyone else, secure the perimeter. As they moved into position, the trapped Arkwright's crystalline surface flickered weakly. Human. Deathworlders. The translation came through. You came. We're getting you out, Reyes assured them, cutting through the organic restraints with her armor's laser system. No. Time. The Arkwright responded. I am. Already compromised. The infinite. It learns. It adapts. That's why we're here, Reyes said. We're deploying a neural disruptor that should shut down its control systems. The Arkwright's patterns shifted in what might have been a laugh. The infinite is not what you think, not just biology, not just machine. It is idea, concept, hunger given form. A warning flashed on Reyes's HUD. Movement, lots of it, heading our way from all directions. Deploy the disruptor, she ordered. Now. Her team moved with practiced efficiency, attaching the delivery system to the neural cluster. The device powered up, ready to release Dr. Ortiz's compound directly into the Infinite's control system. Listen, the Arkwright said urgently. The Infinite, connected. What happens here will be known to all. You must strike at the source. What source? Reyes demanded. The command vessel. It processes all information, all adaptation. The Arkrai's form was dimming, the crystalline structure beginning to fragment. Find it, destroy it, or all is lost. The doors burst open as a new wave of drones flooded in, these ones heavily armed and armored, their forms twisted into living weapons. Disruptor deployed, her tech specialist confirmed. 30 seconds to release. Cover positions, Reyes ordered, raising her weapon. Protect that device. The bio-armor team formed a defensive ring, their enhanced weaponry tearing into the advancing drones. But for each one that fell, 2 more took its place, adapting and evolving even as they watched. 15 seconds. A drone broke through, its limb reconfigured into a cutting tool that slashed across Reyes's armor, scoring the surface but failing to penetrate. She responded with a burst of automatic fire that shredded the creature. 5 seconds. The neural cluster began to pulse more rapidly, as if sensing the impending attack. 3, 2... The disruptor activated with a subtle hiss, releasing Dr. Ortiz's compound directly into the heart of the neural cluster. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The cluster convulsed, the pulsing rhythm faltering and then stopping altogether. The drones froze in place, their coordinated attack dissolving into random, jerking movements. "It's working!" Chen exclaimed. The neural cluster darkened, tendrils withdrawing from the station's systems. The drones began to collapse, one by one. "Status report," Reyes demanded. Her science officer scanned the cluster. Neural activity decreasing rapidly. The compound is disrupting their command and control functions. But what? "I'm detecting a transmission." The cluster sent out a massive data burst before it went offline. The dying Arkrai's words echoed in Rhea's mind. "What happens here will be known to all." "The Arkrai was right," she said grimly. "This was just a test, and we've shown our hand." She activated her comm link. "Command, this is Reyes. Phase 1 successful, but we have a complication. The Infinite knows we're coming now." Admiral Tanaka's voice came through, distorted by distance and encryption. "Understood. Captain, extract your team immediately. The main fleet is moving into position." "Sir." Reyes hesitated. "The Arkrai mentioned a command vessel that processes all information. If we could locate it." "That confirms our intelligence," Tanaka replied. "Ambassador Rodriguez's team has identified a central node in the approaching Infinite Fleet. All adaptations and evolutionary responses are coordinated through it." "Then that's our target," Reyes stated. "Get your team back to the Tenacity," Tanaka ordered. "We're going to need every bio-armor operator for what comes next." Reyes looked down at the Arkrai, but the alien was gone, its crystalline form now dark and lifeless. "Understood. Command. Reyes out." She turned to her team. "Mission accomplished. Let's move out." As they retreated through the corridors of the dying station, Reyes couldn't shake the feeling that they had just announced their presence to an enemy that had devoured entire galaxies, and it was now coming directly for them. Maya stood in Elder Zorth's private chambers aboard the Council station, surrounded by holographic displays showing the movement of the Infinite Fleet toward Arkrai space. The crystalline walls reflected and refracted the light, creating an almost hypnotic effect. "Your warriors were successful," Elder Zorth observed, their geometric patterns shifting in what Maya had learned to recognize as cautious optimism. "The neural disruptor worked." "On a small scale," Maya cautioned. "The real test will come when we face their main fleet." "The Council is displeased with your intervention," Zorth noted. "There has been talk of sanctions against Earth." Maya smiled grimly. "If we succeed, they can sanction us all they want. If we fail, sanctions will be the least of our concerns." Her secure communicator chimed. "Excuse me, Elder." She stepped aside and activated the device. Admiral Tanaka's face appeared, his expression grim but determined. "The fleet is in position," he reported. 150 vessels, plus the Krex, Volucrian, and Turgan contingents. We've established a defensive perimeter at the edge of Arcry space. And the Infinite? Long-range sensors have confirmed their approach. Estimated arrival in 6 hours. Over 2,000 vessels. Maya. She felt a cold knot form in her stomach. They were outnumbered more than 10 to 1. "Have you identified the command vessel?" Tanaka nodded. "Based on the data your intelligence team extracted and Captain Reyes's report, we believe it's at the center of their formation, a massive ship, nearly 5 kilometers long." "That's our target," Maya said firmly. "Everything else is secondary." "Agreed. Dr. Ortiz has modified the neural disruptor based on the data from the station. If we can deliver it to the command vessel, it should cascade through their entire network." "What about delivery?" Maya asked. "The bio-armor teams can't reach a vessel in the center of their fleet." Tanaka's expression turned grim. "We've adapted our atmospheric dispersal systems. When the Infinite Fleet enters Arcry space, we'll detonate chemical warheads throughout their formation. The compound will be carried through their hulls by specialized nanites. That's going to put our ships right in the middle of their fleet," Maya noted. "Yes," Tanaka said simply. "It's a one-way mission for many of our people. They understand the stakes." Maya closed her eyes briefly. "I should be there with you." "You're needed where you are," Tanaka replied firmly. "When this is over, one way or another, the Council will need to hear the truth from someone they trust." Before Maya could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. "What's happening?" she demanded. Elder Zorth moved to a control panel, their crystalline appendages interfacing with the Arcry technology. "The Infinite Fleet has accelerated. They will arrive in less than 2 hours. They've adapted," Tanaka realized. "They know we're waiting for them." "Move up the timetable," Maya ordered. "We can't let them reach the Arcry homeworld." "Understood." Tanaka out. The communication ended, leaving Maya and Elder Zorth staring at the approaching doom on the holographic displays. "Your people risk everything for mine," Zorth said quietly. "Why?" Maya thought about Earth's long, violent history, the countless wars, the near extinctions, the brutal struggle for survival that had forged humanity into what the galaxy now called Deathworlders. "Because we know what it means to fight against impossible odds," she said finally. "And we know what it means to stand alone against the darkness." Elder Zorth's geometric patterns shifted in a complex sequence. "You will not stand alone, Ambassador. I have sent a message to all remaining Arcry vessels. Those that can fight will join your fleet." Maya felt a surge of emotion. "The Council won't approve." "The Council," Zorth replied with a harmonic that Maya's translator interpreted as bitter amusement, "is not facing extinction. We are." Admiral Tanaka stood on the bridge of the EDF Indomitable, Earth's largest dreadnought, watching as the tactical displays showed the approaching Infinite Fleet. Around him, his crew worked with quiet efficiency, each understanding that the next few hours would determine the fate of an entire civilization, and perhaps the galaxy itself. "Arcry vessels moving to support positions," reported his tactical officer. 17 warships and 33 defense platforms. "Unexpected allies," Tanaka murmured. "Pass the word to all ships. The Arcry are friendlies. Coordinate defensive formations." The communications officer turned. "Admiral, incoming transmission from the Council." Tanaka grimaced. "Put it through." The holographic display activated, showing the Council chair's willowy form. Its 4 eyes blinked in what Tanaka had learned to recognize as extreme agitation. "Admiral Tanaka." The chair's voice was cold. You have directly contravened Council policy. Earth forces are ordered to withdraw from Arcry space immediately. With respect, Chair, Tanaka replied, we're a bit busy at the moment. This is not a request. Admiral, the Council has voted. Any Earth vessel remaining in Arcry space after 1 standard hour will be considered in violation of Council Charter, with all applicable consequences. Tanaka leaned forward. Let me be very clear. Chair, we are about to engage an enemy that threatens not just the Arcry, but all life in this galaxy. You can threaten us with sanctions, expulsion, or whatever else you like, but we are not leaving. The chair's expression remained impassive. Then you have made your choice. Admiral, the consequences will fall upon your world alone. The transmission ended. Colonel Khan moved to Tanaka's side. That went well. Political posturing. Tanaka dismissed. If we succeed, they'll change their tune quickly enough. And if we fail, Tanaka's expression hardened. Then Earth standing in the Council will be the least of anyone's concerns. The tactical display updated, showing the Infinite Fleet approaching the outer edge of the defense perimeter. All ships report ready, Admiral, his executive officer announced. Chemical warheads armed and targeting systems locked. Bio-armor teams standing by for deployment, added Khan. Tanaka surveyed the disposition of his forces, 150 Earth vessels, plus the Allied Deathworlder contingents and now the Arcry ships, arranged in a defensive sphere. At the center of that sphere was the Bait, an Arcry scientific outpost, seemingly vulnerable but packed with sensors and Dr. Ortiz's modified neural disruptors. The Infinite Fleet is entering attack range, announced the tactical officer. 2,117 vessels confirmed. Tanaka took a deep breath. Send to all ships. Operation Thermopylae is a go. Engage at will. The human fleet opened fire. Particle beams, kinetic projectiles, and tactical nuclear weapons streaked across the void, impacting the leading edge of the Infinite Fleet. The massive biomechanical ships absorbed the first salvo with minimal damage, their hulls rippling and reforming around the impact points. Minimal effect, reported the tactical officer. They're adapting already, shifting hull composition to resist energy weapons. As expected, Tanaka replied calmly. Begin Phase 2. The Earth fleet changed formation, moving from a defensive sphere to an aggressive wedge. The heaviest ships, led by the Indomitable, drove straight toward the heart of the Infinite Fleet, while smaller, faster vessels darted around the edges, drawing attention and fire. The Infinite responded with weapons of its own, beams of coherent energy that seemed to distort the very fabric of space, and projectiles composed of rapidly evolving organic material that attached to ship hulls and began to consume them. 2 destroyers lost, the tactical officer reported grimly. The Resolute and the Defiant have been compromised. Tanaka watched as the doomed vessels initiated their self-destruct sequences rather than allow the Infinite to consume them. A flash of light, and they were gone, along with the sections of the Infinite Fleet closest to them. They're focusing on our larger vessels, Khan noted. They recognize the threat. Good, Tanaka replied. That means they haven't identified our actual strategy. Commence chemical deployment. Throughout the Earth fleet, specialized launchers activated, sending thousands of warheads into the heart of the Infinite formation, not aimed at specific vessels, but designed to detonate in the spaces between them, creating a dispersal cloud of Dr. Ortiz's neural disruptor across a vast area of space. Detonation in 3, 2, 1. The void between the battling fleets lit up as the warheads exploded simultaneously, releasing clouds of nanite-carried chemicals, the microscopic machines, designed to seek out and penetrate the semi-organic hulls of the Infinite vessels, would deliver their payload directly to the neural networks that controlled the ships. Effect, Tanaka demanded. His science officer studied the sensor readings. Partial success. Approximately 30% of the targeted vessels show disrupted activity. But they're adapting, Tanaka finished. How long until the compound is ineffective? At current adaptation rates, less than 15 minutes. Tanaka nodded grimly. Then we move to Phase 3 immediately. Launch bio-armor teams. Target the command vessel. Throughout the fleet, launch bays opened, releasing hundreds of specialized drop pods. Each contained a bio-armor operator, encased in their protective suits and armed with concentrated doses of the neural disruptor. Captain Rhea's voice came through the command channel. Bio-armor teams away, proceeding to target. On the tactical display, Tanaka watched as the tiny pods darted through the chaotic battlefield, evading infinite weapons fire and the debris of destroyed ships. Many were hit, the signals of their occupants vanishing from the network, but others continued, drawing closer to the massive command vessel at the center of the infinite fleet. "Sir," his communications officer called, "we're receiving a transmission from the infinite." Tanaka blinked in surprise. "Put it through." The main view screen flickered, and then resolved into an image that made several bridge officers recoil. It appeared to be a human face, but wrong. The proportions were subtly off, the skin too smooth, the eyes too large and entirely black. It was as if something had tried to construct a human appearance based on incomplete data. "Earth. Vessels," the thing said, its voice a discordant collection of tones. "You. Resist. Interesting." Tanaka steeled himself. "This is Admiral Hiro Tanaka of the Earth Defense Fleet. You are engaged in an act of aggression against a sovereign species. Withdraw immediately." The not-quite-human face tilted at an impossible angle. "Aggression. Incorrect. Consumption. Evolution. Inevitable. There's nothing natural about wiping out entire civilizations," Tanaka countered. "All consumption," the entity replied. "You consume. Other life. To exist. We. The same. We don't consume sentient species." The face stretched into what might have been an attempt at a smile. "Distinction. Arbitrary. All life. Potential. All consumption. Purpose." While the entity was distracted, Tanaka noted that the bio-armor teams were getting closer to their target. Just a few more minutes. "Why communicate now?" he asked, playing for time. "You've consumed 17 galaxies without ever attempting dialogue." "You. Different," the entity replied. "Deathworlders. Potential. Significant. Join us. Consume. Together." Tanaka felt a chill run down his spine. "You're offering an alliance?" "Absorption," the entity corrected. "Your uniqueness, added to ours, evolution, accelerated." "And if we refuse?" The not-human face rippled, features melting and reforming. "Then, consumption. As with Arcry, as with all." A subtle alert flashed on Tanaka's command console. The bio-armor teams had reached their target and were breaching the command vessel's hull. "I have a counteroffer," Tanaka said, allowing himself a grim smile. "How about instead of consuming us, we consume you?" Confusion rippled across the entity's features. "Not possible." "Actually," Tanaka replied, "it's already happening." "Sir." Maya watched the battle unfold from the council station, surrounded by holographic displays showing the clash between the human fleet and the infinite. Elder Zorth stood beside her, their crystalline form vibrating with tension. The council chamber had emptied of most representatives, many fleeing to their ships as news of the battle spread. Only a handful remained, including, surprisingly, the chair itself. "They're dying," the chair observed dispassionately, watching as human ships exploded under the Infinite's assault. All those lives wasted for nothing. Maya ignored the comment, focusing instead on the tactical feed from Admiral Tanaka's flagship. The bio-armor teams had reached the Infinite Command Vessel and were fighting their way inside. "Ambassador Rodriguez," a voice called. Maya turned to see her intelligence chief, Alexander Petrov, hurrying toward her. "We've cracked it!" "The bio-encryption?" Maya asked urgently. Petrov nodded, his eyes bright with excitement despite his exhaustion. "The data we extracted from the Infinite Outpost. We've identified the primary adaptation algorithm. It's not what we thought." He handed her a data pad. Maya scanned the information, her eyes widening. "Are you certain?" she demanded. "Triple verified," Petrov confirmed. "The Infinite isn't a single entity with distributed consciousness, as we believed. It's a collective of specialized organisms, each performing specific functions, but they all depend on the command vessel for evolutionary directives." Maya's mind raced. "So if we disrupt the command vessel, we don't just temporarily disable them," Petrov finished. "We sever the evolutionary link. They won't be able to adapt." Maya activated her secure communicator. "Admiral Tanaka, do you copy?" After a moment of static, Tanaka's voice came through. "Go ahead, Maya. The intelligence team has cracked the Infinite's bio-encryption. The command vessel doesn't just coordinate, it's the source of their adaptive capabilities. If we can completely neutralize it, the entire fleet will lose the ability to evolve new defenses." "That changes things," Tanaka replied. "The bio-armor teams are inside now, but they're encountering heavy resistance." Maya glanced at the tactical display, noting the concentration of Infinite ships around their command vessel. "They know what we're trying to do. You need to create a diversion, draw their defensive forces away from the command ship." "We're already committed," Tanaka said grimly. "But I might have an idea." Tanaka out. The communication ended, leaving Maya staring at the battle unfolding before her. Elder Zorth moved closer. "What has your intelligence discovered?" Maya quickly explained the revelation about the Infinite's evolutionary mechanism. "A central adaptation node," Zorth mused, geometric patterns shifting rapidly. "That would explain much about their behavior. In our previous encounters, they always protected certain vessels at all costs. And now they're doing the same with the command ship." Maya noted, "Look how they've concentrated their forces around it." The council chair had been listening to their exchange. It drifted closer, its willowy form seeming almost to float above the floor. "If what you say is true," the chair said slowly, "then this strategy might actually have merit." Maya didn't bother hiding her surprise. "Coming from you, that's practically a ringing endorsement. Do not mistake tactical assessment for approval, Ambassador," the chair replied coolly. "The council's position remains unchanged. This intervention was unauthorized and reckless." "And yet," Maya countered, "you're still here, watching the outcome. Why is that, chair? Could it be that even you recognize the Infinite as a threat to all life, not just the Archrai?" Before the chair could respond, the tactical display showed a dramatic change in the battle. The Indomitable and 12 other heavy warships had broken formation, accelerating directly toward the Infinite command vessel in what appeared to be a suicide run. "What is Tanaka doing?" Petrov gasped. Maya watched, her heart in her throat, as the massive Earth vessels plowed into the Infinite defensive screen. Ships on both sides exploded in blinding flashes as the Indomitable drove deeper into the enemy formation. "Creating a path," she whispered. Inside the Infinite command vessel, Captain Sophia Reyes fought for her life. The bio-armor protected her from the toxic atmosphere and the bizarre gravitational fluctuations, but nothing could shield her from the sheer number of enemies that swarmed through the organic corridors. The drones here were different, more evolved, more intelligent than those they had encountered on the Arkwright station. They coordinated their attacks with frightening precision, forcing the bio-armor teams into defensive positions. "Status report!" Reyes shouted over the comm, her armor's weapon systems firing continuously to hold back the advancing drones. "Team 2 has reached the central chamber," Lieutenant Chen reported. "Heavy resistance. Team 3 is gone. No survivors." Reyes grimaced inside her helmet. They had started with 12 teams of 6 operators each. Now they were down to less than half that number. "Team 2, deploy the disruptor," she ordered. "Everyone else, fall back to their position and provide cover." She moved through the nightmarish interior of the infinite vessel, her armor's enhanced strength allowing her to tear through the membranous barriers that tried to seal off corridors. The walls themselves seemed alive, pulsing with veins of luminescent fluid that cast an eerie light over everything. Rounding a corner, she found Team 2 pinned down outside a massive chamber, through the organic aperture that served as a door. She could see a pulsating structure that dominated the center of the room, a colossal neural cluster, far larger and more complex than the one they had encountered on the Arkwright station. "That's the target," she confirmed. "Status of the disruptor?" "Ready," replied the team's tech specialist, "but we can't get close enough to deploy it effectively." Reyes assessed the situation. Dozens of specialized drones guarded the neural cluster, their forms more heavily armored than any they had encountered before. "New plan," she decided. "I'll create a diversion. When they focus on me, get that disruptor in place." "Captain," Chen protested, "that's suicide." "That's an order, Lieutenant," Reyes replied firmly. "On my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark." She charged into the chamber, all of her armor's weapon systems firing simultaneously. The drones reacted immediately, converging on the new threat. Reyes fought with everything she had, the bio-armor's enhanced capabilities allowing her to tear through the first wave of attackers. But there were too many, and they were adapting with each passing second, their attacks becoming more coordinated, more precisely targeted at the weak points in her armor. Through the chaos, she saw Team 2 moving toward the neural cluster, the disruptor device clutched in the tech specialist's armored hands. "Almost there," Chen reported. "Just a few more seconds." A particularly large drone smashed into Reyes, knocking her backward. Her armor's integrity warnings flashed across her HUD as a corrosive fluid began eating through the outer layers. "Hurry!" she gasped, fighting to break free. "Disruptor in place," Chen announced. "Activating. Now." The device powered up, its lights blinking in sequence as it prepared to release the neural disruptor directly into the heart of the Infinite's command center. The drones seemed to sense the danger. They abandoned Reyes, rushing toward the device with singular purpose. "Protect the disruptor!" Reyes ordered, struggling back to her feet. The surviving bio-armor operators formed a defensive ring around the device, their weapons creating a wall of fire that held the drones at bay. 30 seconds to activation, Chen reported. The ship shuddered violently, throwing several operators off balance. Through her armor's enhanced audio sensors, Reyes could hear the sound of massive impacts against the hull. "What was that?" she demanded. Her communications specialist checked his systems. "The Indomitable and other Earth vessels are ramming the command ship. They're creating a breach directly into this chamber." "Tanaka, you crazy bastard," Reyes muttered. The wall of the chamber buckled and then tore open, exposing the interior to the vacuum of space. The bio-armor protected its operators, but the drones were not so fortunate. Those nearest the breach were sucked out into the void. 15 seconds, Chen called. Through the breach, Reyes could see the Indomitable pressed against the command vessel's hull, its weapons firing continuously to widen the opening. The neural cluster began to pulse more rapidly, tendrils of energy lashing out at the disruptor. One struck the device, causing it to spark dangerously. "It's destabilizing the disruptor," the tech specialist warned. "We need to shield it." Without hesitation, Reyes moved to position herself between the neural cluster and the device. Using her armor as a physical barrier against the energy tendrils. 5 seconds. The energy struck her armor directly, overwhelming its defensive systems. Warnings flashed across her HUD as critical failures cascaded through the suit. 3, 2, 1. The disruptor activated, releasing Dr. Ortiz's compound directly into the neural cluster. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The cluster convulsed violently, the pulsing rhythm faltering and then stopping altogether. The energy tendrils dissipated, and the drones throughout the chamber collapsed, their coordinated movements dissolving into random twitches. "It's working," Chen exclaimed. Through her failing systems, Reyes watched as the neural cluster darkened, the luminescent fluid that had coursed through it going dim. "Get confirmation," she managed through gritted teeth, her armor's life support systems failing. Chen moved to her side. "Captain, your armor's compromised. We need to get you out of here." "Not until we're sure," Reyes insisted. The tech specialist scanned the neural cluster. Neural activity decreasing rapidly, but I'm detecting something else. A signal, broadcasting throughout the ship. "What kind of signal?" Chen demanded. I don't know. It's like the cluster is sending out its complete neural pattern to the rest of the fleet." Reyes felt a chill that had nothing to do with her failing life support. "It's trying to transfer command functions to another vessel." "Can we stop it?" "Too late," the specialist replied. "The transmission is complete." For a moment, they stood in grim silence, believing they had failed. Then, something unexpected happened. Throughout the chamber, the organic components of the ship began to turn on each other. The walls, the drones, even the remains of the neural cluster, all began to attack themselves, as if infected by some aggressive autoimmune response. "What's happening?" Chen asked in wonder. The specialist checked his readings. "The neural pattern. It's corrupt. The disruptor didn't just shut down this command node. It altered the evolutionary code itself. When it transmitted to the fleet, it sent a self-destruct command," Reyes finished, understanding dawning despite the pain of her injuries. "We didn't just kill the command ship. We poisoned the entire infinite consciousness." The ship shuddered again, more violently this time, as its structure began to tear itself apart. "We need to evacuate," Chen urged. "This whole vessel is going to collapse." "Get everyone out," Reyes ordered, her vision beginning to dim as her armor's systems failed completely. "Not without you, Captain," Chen insisted, moving to support her. The last thing Reyes saw before losing consciousness was the neural cluster, the heart of the infinite command system, dissolving into a pool of inert organic matter. They had won, but at what cost? Maya watched in stunned silence as the infinite command vessel tore itself apart from within. All around it, the rest of the infinite fleet was experiencing the same fate, ships breaking apart, turning on each other, or simply going dark and drifting. "They did it," Petrov breathed. "They actually did it." Elder Zorth's crystalline form pulsed with an emotion that Maya's translator couldn't quite capture, something between joy, disbelief, and profound grief. "My people are saved," Zorth said simply. "At such cost." The tactical display showed the aftermath of the battle. Of the 150 Earth vessels that had engaged the Infinite, less than 60 remained operational. The Allied Deathworlder contingents had suffered similar losses, and the Indomitable, Admiral Tanaka's flagship, was gone, sacrificed in the final assault on the command vessel. Maya felt a hollow ache in her chest. Hiro Tanaka had been more than just a military colleague. He had been a friend, a mentor, someone who understood the burden of representing humanity among the stars. The council chair moved to Maya's side, its willowy form seeming somehow less imposing than before. "Ambassador Rodriguez," it said, its voice uncharacteristically subdued. "The council must reevaluate its position." Maya turned to face the alien diplomat. "Meaning what, exactly?" "Meaning," the chair replied, "that perhaps our understanding of the infinite was incomplete, and perhaps our assessment of Deathworlders was similarly flawed." "We did what you said was impossible," Maya stated flatly. "We defeated a force of nature." "Yes," the chair acknowledged, "through methods that the council would consider extreme, but effective, nonetheless." Maya felt her anger rising. "Extreme? We sacrificed our ships, our people, to save a civilization that you had written off as lost. Don't talk to me about extreme methods." The chair's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Your anger is understandable. But consider this, Ambassador. For thousands of years, the Council has maintained peace among hundreds of species by avoiding direct confrontation whenever possible. This approach has saved countless lives. It's also made you complacent," Maya countered. "When a real threat emerged, you had no answer except surrender." "Perhaps," the chair conceded. "And perhaps that is why the universe saw fit to introduce Deathworlders into our community at this moment in history, to remind us of alternatives." Before Maya could respond, her communicator chimed. She activated it to find Lieutenant Chen's face on the display. "Lieutenant, report!" "Mission accomplished, Ambassador," Chen replied, her expression a mixture of exhaustion and grim satisfaction. "The neural disruptor worked beyond our expectations. It didn't just disable the command vessel, it corrupted the entire Infinite network. They're tearing themselves apart throughout the fleet." "Casualties?" Maya asked, dreading the answer. Chen's expression fell. "Heavy, ma'am. Over half of the bio-armor team's lost. Captain Reyes is in critical condition but stable. And Admiral Tanaka's ship." "I know," Maya said quietly. "We saw it from here." "There's something else," Chen continued. "The Infinite isn't completely destroyed. Some vessels on the outer edges of the fleet seem to have disconnected from the network before the corrupted signal reached them. They've withdrawn from Arcry space, but they're still out there." Maya processed this information. "So we've won the battle, but not the war." "That's a fair assessment, ma'am." "Return to Earth space, Lieutenant. Bring our people home." "Yes, ma'am." Chen out. The communication ended, leaving Maya to contemplate the implications. The Infinite was wounded, perhaps critically, but not destroyed. And Earth had revealed itself as a power willing to fight battles that the Council would rather avoid. The political consequences would be significant, but they were alive to face them. Elder Zorth approached, their crystalline form glowing with renewed energy. "Ambassador, the remaining Arcry fleets report that the Infinite vessels are retreating from our space. They will not pursue." "Good," Maya replied. "We've done enough damage for one day. The Arcry people owe humanity a debt that can never be repaid," Zorth said solemnly. "You faced extinction for our sake. That's what allies do," Maya told them. "And perhaps that's a lesson the Council needs to learn." She turned to the chair, who had been listening to their exchange. "I'll be returning to Earth to report on these events. When I return, I expect the Council to formally acknowledge our actions in defense of the Arcry." The chair's expression remained inscrutable. "The Council will deliberate on the appropriate response." "Deliberate all you want," Maya replied. "But remember this, when the Arcry cried for help, It wasn't the Council that answered. It was the Deathworlders, the species you feared and marginalized since we joined your community. A point that will not be forgotten, the chair assured her, for better or worse. 3 weeks later, Maya stood at the podium in the Galactic Council chamber, addressing the assembled representatives of hundreds of species. The chamber was fuller than she had ever seen it, with delegates from even the most distant council worlds in attendance. The threat of the infinite has not been eliminated, she stated clearly, but it has been driven back, contained, and most importantly, proven vulnerable. What the Council believed to be an unstoppable force of nature has been revealed as simply another life form, adaptable, yes, but also subject to the same biological limitations as all life. She gestured to the holographic displays showing the aftermath of the battle in Arcry space. Earth and allied vessels were still there, helping the Arcry reclaim and decontaminate their outer colonies. The victory came at tremendous cost. Earth lost over 90 ships and nearly 2,000 personnel, including Admiral Hiro Tanaka, whose sacrifice ensured the success of our mission. The Kreks, Volucrians, and Turgans suffered similar losses, but the Arcry civilization, a founding member of this council, survives. The council chair, who had called this special session, raised a slender appendage. The council acknowledges the effectiveness of Earth's intervention. Though unauthorized, it achieved what was believed impossible. Maya noted the careful phrasing, not approval, but acknowledgement. It was a start. In recognition of this service, the chair continued, the Council hereby designates Earth as the shield against the infinite, charged with coordinating future responses should the threat re-emerge. Murmurs spread through the chamber. This was more than Maya had expected, an official mandate to lead the defense against the infinite, should it return. Earth accepts this designation, she replied formally. But we propose to expand it. All Deathworld species should be included in this defensive coalition. Our unique evolutionary backgrounds give us advantages that prove decisive in battle. The chair's 4 eyes blinked in their complex sequence. The Council will consider this proposal. There is something else, Maya added. The intelligence we gathered suggests that the infinite has encountered Deathworlders before and avoided them. This may explain why it had not previously entered Council space, despite consuming galaxies all around us. This revelation caused an even greater stir among the delegates. What you have long seen as a liability, the harsh evolutionary crucible that forged species like humans, Kreks, Volucrians, and Turgans, may in fact be your greatest asset, Maya continued. We are not monsters to be feared, but guardians who have been tempered by adversity. Elder Zorth moved to join her at the podium, their crystalline form gleaming under the chamber's lights. The Arcry support Earth's position, Zorth announced. When all others abandoned us to our fate, the Deathworlders stood firm. They did not counsel retreat or surrender. They fought, and they won. One by one, representatives from other species rose to voice their support, first the Kreks, Volucrians, and Turgans. Then, surprisingly, several non-Deathworld species who had witnessed the battle from afar. The council chair observed this display with an unreadable expression. Finally, it raised all 4 of its appendages, calling for silence. The council hears these testimonies, it stated, and acknowledges that our understanding of both the infinite and of Deathworld species requires revision. A committee will be formed to study the implications and recommend policy changes. Maya suppressed a smile. Committees and studies. The Council's way of acknowledging change was needed without committing to immediate action. But it was progress. In the meantime, the chair continued. Earth and its allies are authorized to maintain a defensive presence in Arcry space and to continue development of countermeasures against the Infinite. The Council formally recognizes your service and sacrifice. The session concluded soon after, with delegates breaking into smaller groups to discuss the implications. Maya found herself surrounded by representatives seeking more information about Earth's military capabilities and the neural disruptor technology that had proven so effective. Elder Zorth approached as the crowd thinned. A significant victory, Ambassador, not just against the Infinite, but here in the Council as well. Maya nodded, but only a beginning. The chair's words were carefully chosen. They still fear us, perhaps now more than ever. Fear can be the beginning of respect, Zorth observed, geometric patterns shifting thoughtfully. My people feared you as well, until we saw you fight for us rather than against us. Let's hope the rest of the Council comes to the same realization, Maya replied, without needing another existential threat to prove the point. 6 months later, Admiral Ayako Tanaka, hastily promoted following her father's death, stood on the observation deck of the lunar military base Artemis, gazing at the Earth suspended in the black void of space. Behind her, the base hummed with activity. New ships were being constructed, bio-armor units were training, and Dr. Ortiz's team was developing more effective neural disruptors based on the data collected during the battle. The door slid open, and Maya Rodriguez entered. She had changed in the months since the battle. There was a new gravity to her bearing, a weight of responsibility that hadn't been there before. Admiral, she greeted. The Council has approved the formal establishment of the Deathworld Defense Coalition. All 7 Deathworld species have joined, and surprisingly, even a few non-Deathworld volunteers. Ayako nodded. Progress. My father would be pleased. He would be, Maya agreed, though he'd probably say it's about damn time. That drew a small smile from Ayako. The recon ships have returned from the edge of Arcry space. The Infinite remnants are still out there, regrouping. They've adapted a new form of communication that doesn't rely on the central command structure we destroyed. Learning from defeat, Maya noted, just as we do. They'll be back, Ayako said with certainty. Stronger, more prepared. And so will we, Maya replied. The Council may move slowly, but they're not fools. They've seen what the Infinite can do, and what Deathworlders can do in response. They won't make the same mistake twice. Ayako turned her gaze back to Earth, hanging like a blue jewel against the darkness. You know, my father used to say that humanity's greatest strength wasn't our technology or our military tactics. It was our stubborn refusal to accept defeat, even when victory seemed impossible. He was right, Maya said softly. And that's something the Infinite will never understand. They evolved to consume. We evolved to endure. They stood in companionable silence, watching as a shuttle departed from the lunar surface, heading toward Earth. Inside were the first Arcry diplomats to visit humanity's homeworld, the beginning of a direct alliance that bypassed the cautious protocols of the Council. What did Elder Zorth say when you left? Ayako asked finally. Maya smiled. That when aliens cried for help, Earth's Deathworlders didn't just answer, they roared to war. And that sound will echo through the galaxy for generations to come. Ayako nodded, a fierce pride filling her chest. Let's make sure it's a warning to our enemies, and a promise to our friends. Together, they turned from the viewport and walked back into the base, where the preparations for the next battle were already underway. The Deathworlders had proven their worth not as monsters to be feared, but as guardians who would stand against the darkness when no one else would. And the galaxy would never be the same.